Hi everyone, my name is Sean Patel and I'm the founder of 2400 Expert. And in this video, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about our Virginia SAT prep courses. So to start off, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Back when I was in high school in Las Vegas, I started out with just an average SAT score. I then spent hundreds of hours preparing for this exam until I got a perfect SAT score, which is something that only 0.02% of all students achieved. Now, my SAT score completely changed my life. I received admission into prestigious universities. I got $250,000 in college scholarships. I even got to meet the President of the United States. And so after that, I went on to write some #1 best-selling SAT and ACT books. And I'm also currently an MD and MBA student at both Yale and USC. But most importantly, I started 2400 Expert, which is a test preparation company in which we hold 6-week test prep classes for students to help them prepare for the SAT the same way that I did in high school. So I've built the entire curriculum, books, courses, strategies, and trained all the instructors to teach it the way that is based on basically my preparation methods. And so um, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of success at 2400 Expert. So after a 6-week course, so a 6-week course is where um, you meet with an instructor twice a week for 3 hours and a proctor once a week for 4 hours for testing, for a total of 10 hours a week for 6 weeks. So that's 60 hours. So after a 6-week course, our average SAT score improvement is 368 points. We've had many students go to the top universities in the nation, think Harvard, Stanford, Yale. Students get millions in college scholarships, and some have even gotten perfect SAT scores themselves. And so, specifically now to the Virginia SAT prep courses, I want to answer probably the most commonly asked question we get from parents regarding the SAT, which is, when should my child start studying? The answer to this question is really as soon as possible. So I know most people don't start studying for the SAT until spring of their junior year or even fall of their senior year. The problem with waiting so long to prepare for the SAT is these are really busy times of high school, right? So junior year, spring is full of AP exams and finals. Senior year of high school is full of college admissions applications. And so, I would recommend starting earlier if possible. I personally started studying for the SAT as a sophomore in high school. And in addition, what I've noticed and what we've noticed over the years at 24 Hour Expert is that students who start taking our classes as freshmen or sophomores typically end up getting the highest SAT scores, get into the best colleges, and win the most scholarships. In addition, starting earlier has benefits not only for the SAT, but also for studying in general. So we really teach how to study in this course, and that goes beyond just the SAT. It helps you in your high school math classes, your high school English classes. It helps you on the PSAT, your AP exams, SAT subject exams, ACTs, right? So it will help you all around in high school. In addition, starting earlier will help you do well on the PSAT, and I'll talk a little bit more in just a couple of minutes about why the PSAT is so important. So our location in Virginia is in Tyson's Corner, and it's at a place called Intelligent Office. So we work out of the conference room there. Can fit about 12 students, so it's a pretty intimate location where you get a lot of one-on-one time with the instructor to ask your questions, and it's not some huge hall full of 50 students. So our location is convenient to everyone in Virginia and the DC area. And our instructors are really awesome in Virginia too. So it's Selena Patel and Bhavin Joshi, both really, really great instructors. Selena actually got a perfect score on the SAT herself. Bhavin has scored on the 99th percentile on the SAT, and they both really enjoy teaching students. And so in Virginia, though, couple things I want to talk about regarding the SAT that probably most people overlook. The first is the PSAT. So the PSAT doesn't seem all that important, right? It's called the practice SAT. Most people think, oh, I'm not sending it to college, so it doesn't count for that much. But really, the PSAT is very important. The reason for that is because it's the only test that can qualify you for national merit. So national merit is not only a great accolade to have on your college application, but it's also a scholarship worth $2,500 to any college that you choose to go to. And also, and most importantly, is that about 50 to 100 universities across the nation give students half tuition to full tuition scholarships just for being a National Merit Scholar. So Boston University, for example, gives National Merit Scholars an automatic half tuition scholarship. So that's $20,000 a year times 4 years, which is equal to $80,000, right? So $80,000 for scoring high on this one PSAT test. So how high do you need to score on the PSAT in order to qualify for National Merit? Well, that really depends on how well students in your state that year do on the test. But typically, more academically competitive states have higher National Merit PSAT cutoffs than less academically competitive states. And so for you guys in Virginia, it is slightly more competitive than most states. So I estimate that the cutoff score this year will be around 1390. Now that's out of 1520. So the PSAT used to be out of 240, but now it's out of 1520. Now, the PSAT can only be taken one time, and that's October of your junior year. If you take it earlier, like sophomore or freshman year, that's only practice. The only time you can possibly qualify for National Merit is October of your junior year. If this is passed already, I'm sorry. There's nothing we could do other than help you get a high SAT score in order to help you get other scholarships, which I'll talk about in a second. There's no reason to study for the PSAT separately than the SAT. What I always tell students is if you study for the SAT, you'll be over-prepared for the PSAT. What I mean by that is the PSAT is really just an easier version of the SAT. The math is less difficult. There's no essay. It's a shorter exam. So if you're ready for the SAT, you'll be really ready for the PSAT. And so one other thing I want to cover related to the SAT that most people don't really talk about is, everyone knows a high SAT score can get you into a great college, but a high SAT score can also win you a lot of scholarships. And so I'm speaking from personal experience here. When I was a high school senior, I applied for 100 scholarships, ended up winning 20 of those, which amounted to $250,000 from companies like Coca-Cola, Toyota, McDonald's, Best Buy, and Lowe's. And what I realized after applying for all of those scholarships is that the secret to winning scholarships is really to apply for local scholarships open to students in your city or state. The reason for that is because it reduces the applicant pool down significantly and increases your chances of winning those scholarships significantly. So I think I told you I won 20 scholarships. I believe 19 of those were local scholarships. So don't waste your time going on these big scholarship search engines like FastWeb and applying for these big national scholarships because most of the time it's going to be a waste of time. And I'm trying to save you a lot of effort and energy in this way. And so search for scholarships in your region. So I did a quick search for Virginia scholarships, and I found that the Virginia Department of Education gives out a scholarship called the Lee Jackson Scholarship. It's basically where students in Virginia are awarded scholarships based on their essays about General Lee and General Jackson. Well, you know what I would do in order to apply for the scholarship? And this is what I did to apply to a lot of scholarships. I just took an essay that I had already written from my U.S. history class about General Lee or General Jackson, and I would submit it as my essay for this scholarship contest. So if you have an essay already written about General Lee or General Jackson, there's no reason you should not apply for this scholarship, right? And so the more obscure the scholarship, the better your chances of winning. And so be sure to check out Google is your best friend when looking for local scholarships, as well as your college counselor's office will often know of scholarships that are open to your local region. Now, why should you guys take a Virginia SAT prep course with us in January and February as opposed to later? Well, our 6-week January-February SAT prep course really prepares students for the March 2016 SAT. This is going to be the first administration of the new SAT, and I believe all students should take it in order to take advantage of the curve. What I mean by this is that most students are not going to be ready for the new SAT. There's not a lot of practice materials out, there's not a lot of practice problems out. So the few students that are ready are going to score really well on the curve of the test. This actually happened 10 years ago when the SAT first changed from 1600 to 2400. I remember a lot of students at my high school who took that first 2400 version of the SAT. got very high scores. They got 2400, 2390, 2380, 2280, 2320. So all these high scores on that first administration, and that's because the curve was really good on the first administration. Because most students were not ready for the test. So it's going to be a similar story, I believe, March of this year. And so you guys should all take advantage of taking that first administration of the new SAT. Really prepare for it. Get into our 6-week class. We'll teach you 100 strategies specifically for the new test. We'll take you through thousands of problems specifically for the new SAT, and just knock it out of the park in March. March is also a really good time to test because you'll take your SAT in March, you'll take your AP exams in May, and you'll take your finals in June, and you'll spread out your testing really nicely rather than trying to pack in your SAT in May or June, which is what most of your friends will do. And that's really difficult because you've got so much going on during that time. So anyway, we hope to see you in our Virginia SAT prep course very soon, and I wish you guys all the best of luck with your SAT, college, and scholarship goals. All right, thanks.